Good morning everyone, welcome to my channel. So today's video is the start of the March prompt for Susanna's calendar series. So Vintage Blend Studios is the name of Susanna's channel, and she is providing a prompt each month to stitch to create a calendar. Now Susanna's doing exactly as you see the design, and she's linking them all together and winding them onto a rolling pin. So as her year rolls through, she'll be able to just unroll it and see March, April, May, June, etc. What I'm doing to still join in on the fun is doing something with each image. Now, if you remember, I did the ocean scene in January. Don't know what I'll use that panel for. It was just a piece of art. And then I did the hearts into just an imagery within a journal, and now we're at March. So I've mentioned a few times already that all of the animals that are coming in the following months will be going onto a Japanese rice bag with a difference. So a classic Japanese rice bag is very soft, and you string it together with your project inside. So I've followed that theory but adjusted it slightly, and these are video series I did last year where each side, the seam is on the perimeter and it's stitched together so that it creates quite a stiff side. So the inside, some felt, so you've got your inside fabric, you've got some felt, and then you've got your actual decorated piece. So in this series I did a bit of a study of different combinations of laying fabrics together. So this is a log cabin, this is weaving, this is a sideways log cabin style. So it's just different quilts, and this was a scrappy quilt that scrappy quilt that you rotated around from a perimeter in the center, from a center point, and then over all of it I embellished and stitched. So I'll link the playlist below that shows you how this came to be. I then made a separate bag that became the lining. It was all hand stitched together. The only machine stitching I did was the lining when I joined it all together on the side seams, and I attached it to the bottom panel of fabric. There's more details in the, look at, get all that out of there. There's more details in the playlist of how I made the internal panels. But I'll do that at the end once I've finished. Oh, look, I just found some more of that. I thought it was all gone. See these little, I love these little baskets because it's just a place to put some of my little scrappy bits. And then this one is my French one, which holds all of my French fabric, bar the bigger pieces, which I've got, tucked away in a safe container. So the tabs are just stitched in to the joining process. So when the outside meets the inside, these little tabs are inserted. Look, there's so many videos on how to make a Japanese rice bag out there. The only difference is my seams are on the outside, and my panels became a feature that I could, stitch, embroider, etc. So this was really showcasing my trip to Paris in May 2003. So I made a little tag. That's a cuff off of a blouse that I've stitched on there, and some of the buttons I found, and then a piece of fabric underneath. So you can do that. That was off of a piece of lace. I think it was this one. It was the original artwork, and just did some embellishing of the old fabric, and then back to the big flower. So I want to make another one because I'm finding them so handy. So I've got 3. The other one is up at my house that I'm moving to. It's the blues and Japanese inspired Boro stitch and all sorts. So this one is going to be featuring the animals, and then I need a theme. I have racked my brain and I keep coming back to this. Now, This is a pre-printed panel, which was just in there, of a rabbit, a hare. It's an artist from South Africa. I'll put the details below. For the top of my head, I can't remember the exact details, but the video with me showing you this and talking about where I got it from, which was a business here in Brisbane who has done a deal with the artist to have it printed, and then they have been, you know, stitching with it. So I managed to get myself a panel. I've then gone over it. It was just a black print. I have gone over it with heaps of stitches, and then also worked in lace and then beads. Now, I never did this on YouTube. This was pre-YouTube. This was sort of coming out of COVID, and I hadn't yet got on the channel, and I hadn't yet really explored, you know, where I was going to go with my channel, if I was going to do a particular thing or just literally turn it on and craft, which is what's actually come of my channel. So I love this piece. Let me bring it up to the camera. A lot of thread painting, a lot of embellishing, and a lot of beadwork. But the thing with a piece like this, unless you frame it and have it on your wall, it's tucked away in the cupboard. So what I thought I'd do is use this as my inspiration, because I just love it. And I'm going to do Susanna's animals in this style, and that way I'll have a storage unit. I never know what to call it. It's a rice bag, but with a difference, and it's nearly a storage caddy, a storage solution. So that's the plan. That's my inspiration: stitching, embellishing, and beading. So let's just pop Mr. Bunny away. Now, to make my Japanese rice bag storage caddies, oh gosh, I need to come up with a cool name for it. All of them have been based on this calico, but it's a heavier calico. It's not the usual lightweight one that I use. It's a little bit thicker. I picked up a chunk of it at the sewing lair. It's not canvas, but boy, it's close. It's still okay to push a needle through, but it is heavy. But I want the heaviness so that the bag stands. And then I've used this same fabric on the inside lining, which is the same squares that I've joined together to slide on the inside when I'm ready to construct it. This is the felt. I just got this from Spotlight. It's not the cheap craft felt, but it's certainly not a good quality woolen felt that you'd probably use in a quilt. It's sort of in the middle. It's sold by the meter. And I had a chunk of that left over from goodness knows what project. So that sort of has become my base. So between that heavier piece and this, I really feel like I've got a bit of structure building. And then when I put everything on it, and then another piece of this, which starts to line the bag, it stands, which was the whole gist of where I was heading with the project. So now we need to get you onto there. Can you just hop across? Are you the right size? I haven't even checked that. Oh, he's pretty close. Can I see him? Oh, just. I could do with shortening a little bit. Or is he pretty good? He's pretty good. Now my rice bag panel, if you wish to join, is 6.5. It's like a fraction shorter than that, but it's 6.5 by 6.5. Oh, it's not quite 6.5. It's like 1/8 less, but just cut at 6.5 by 6.5. I might have been a little crooked with my slicer. I sliced up probably about 40 of these on day one, and I've just had them sitting aside because I was so loved my project, and I knew if anything came along, I think This one started because Arty Farty Annie did a string quilt video, and that's how that came. I'm like, oh, I've never tried that. That's how that came to be. And then she embellished and made it into quite a big panel. And that's just set me off on a colour palette, and it also set me off going looking for other quilt type looks for the shabby chic. I picked a certain range of fabric. It was like a jelly roll, and just went for it. And that's how that came to be. So what was my point in that? I don't know. Gosh. Let's just get focused back on Bunny. I think I'm going to put Bunny a little off center because that'll give me the opportunity to drift lace in around him. I'm not going to lay a background down. I'm going to leave it plain. See how you can see the original fabric that he was printed on? The lace will encroach in on him and the lace will drift through him. So my fabric doesn't need, you know, where you would usually slow stitch a heap of things on. I don't think I need to do that. The fact that he's looking this way, I'm thinking I'm going to put him just a little off the center. I like his height, but we've got to remember that there's a little bit that's lost into the sides and the bottom, but the top is not too bad. So I guess I can have his little ears more to the top, and then that stitches in and his little toes would sit just inside that seam when that attaches to the base piece. Okay, all right, we have a plan. Now, a light box probably would help me a little bit. Let me just hold that to the window. Does that help me much? Not really, because it's so dense, this fabric. Another thing I could do is trace him out and draw around him. Cut him out. There we go. That's what we'll do. I think Susanna did this in her video because she cut him out of fabric and then added into her calendar base, the base fabric. So that might be better, because what will end up happening is I will sketch it in and it'll slightly morph here and there, and suddenly the ears don't look right. So let's save ourselves a little bit of work and cut him out and use that as our template. See, thinking with my head. Gee, those hounds, they just have to be part of every video, don't they? I don't know if it's because they were napping and maybe they hear me talking to you guys, which wakes them up because they think, oh, Mum's got a visitor, which wakes them up from their nap, which then puts them back into let's play and goose around and have a woof at any hounds happening to be walking past the property. But there's no one out there. No one's walking. I can hear a truck that's pulled up at the neighbours, and he's delivering gas bottles on the back of a truck. So my guess is those pair of mutts of mine have heard that. Here's his bum. Nearly chopped his bum off. Yeah, I can hear it leaving now. That's what it was. They've gone to let that gentleman know that they know he's there. Just doing the job, guard dogging. Gosh, I can't believe we're in March, guys. I'm getting super excited, getting ready to go down to see Susanna. Oh, gosh, we're going to run amok. Oh, goodness me, dog. That's Pepper, that high-pitched bark. Obnoxious hound. Now I can hear all the other dogs going in the street. Now every house has 2 dogs, if not 3. There's a white fluffy dog inside the property. There we go. Oh, hello, baby. That's good. Really good. I might just bring him over a bit. I want a little bit of room. I sort of want him to look like he's peeking through the brush, and the brush is lace. Does that make sense? But we need a bit of the fabric showing, because otherwise it'll just be such a mush-mash of a mush of, here they come again. Finish my set. I need to pin that. This is not going to end well if I don't pin it. I've been wanting to invest in a new light box. My light box I had when I was quilting and doing needle turn applique on quilts, stitching into quilts. I had a light box that I bought, and I pulled it out, I don't know, 12 months ago, and the bulb didn't come on. So I took the bulb out and I had it sitting in my room for ages, and when it came time to select the light fittings for the house we built at Burrum, I took that bulb with me and got a new one. And it cost me like $8 or something to get this bulb. I thought, oh beauty, now my light box will work. I bring it home and guess what? The light box just doesn't work. So Gaz was saying that there's like a transformer probably built into it that takes it down in power to be, you know, a transformed, less powered device. I can't see that, but there is some bumps and lumps in the plastic moulding that I'm guessing is hiding it. And if that's gone, it's gone. There was just no way of fixing it. So it was a bit sad because I probably only used it 12 times, and then it sat in the cupboard for 15 years. So there's my bunny. He has got a little chunky. So when I stitch him, I'm going to stitch inside that line, because by tracing around him, I've made him a bit bigger. He's not as fine as he was. So I'm just going to draw in some of his little features. His little nose, little dimple there. It's got a little eye. They've got beautiful eyes, don't they? They've got these big doughy eyes, bunnies. Can really stitch in. Okay, bring that across there. And then we've got this ear that comes in. You see how he needs to be narrower? He's lost his daintiness by tracing around. He's got bigger. That's okay. We can fiddle around. He's got a bit of a turned over edge. Okay. His neck comes around. He's got a little chest on him. I'll have to get the iron out and tweak it a little bit, but we get the general shapes and stitches and get our little guy on. Wonder if I can see through for his little legs. It'd be nice to capture Susanna's legs there, because they're quite cute. There's a bit of a shape that I like. Okay, and then there's a little patch here that we could potentially play with. Just bringing my lines in a little bit. You could really play with that. She's done a little detail there to show legs. She's got to do detail there, so his little fluffy tail comes out. There's a little cheek in there, but that'll all happen once I start stitching. Okay. A little bit of a detail there. And of course in there. Okay, I think we've got enough to sort of get us started. Now she has got some little extra details here. And I'm tempted to, if I can, bring them in as well. Even if they become some lace, but let's just get them in there. And then we can sort of think about what happens with it, whether it becomes a stitched element or becomes, you know, something lacy. This little one here, I think I will do it up here. It's not as thick as that. And remember, these are heat soluble pens, so it's just a case of if you don't like your new sketched in lines, you can, you know, adjust accordingly. So that's bringing in those couple little elements that Susanna has here. Whether they stay or not, I don't know at this stage, but we've got at least Bunny in position. Now the next thing I want to do before I get too far ahead of myself is make sure this is on here with some stitching. So just my needle and thread, and I'm just going to run a tacking stitch. It will be removed or invisible stitch if you don't want to remove it. Probably just do invisible stitch. And then what I find when I do a tacking stitch, which is my childhood days, you tack things down and then come back and remove it. So tacking stitch was I guess the way I would approach layering fabrics onto something. That tacking stitch, until it was gone, was like a bit of a barrier. Like I was always looking at it. It was often a different colour so that you could find it to pull it out. And that just, I don't know. Now I love invisible stitch because it never comes out. It just stays there. Does its job. I don't notice it. But yet my pieces are held together. So I'm a bit of a fan of invisible stitch rather than tacking it down. I don't often hear many people actually do tacking in a giant stitch now. I think we like layers of stitches. So great, all those rules are gone. I'd say my felt is true. Oops, I missed the stitch there. I'd say my felt is 6.5 inches by 6.5, but my little piece of panel here is not. What I'm thinking of doing actually, because I've got a bit of a size issue, I'm going to start again in a minute, and I'm going to bring, there's at least 1/8 of an inch difference. So if I bring that right down, yep, the side measurement's good, but see how it's just a little bit out? It's like it's minute, but I'm going to make sure the base is down on that felt to the point where it's just coming over the edge. I'll show you when I flip it over, because that then allows me to do something up here. See how I've just made sure it's just peeks in under? Yeah, That's better. And I can tuck in a potential lace in there, and because it's at the top of the bag, it will actually sit okay across this top here. Or I can trim that back, make it drop down out of sight, and yeah, join my bag together. So let's start that again. So I think the first thing I'll do with my little guy, will I do an outline? So I didn't. I was going to say I might outline him. I did on those ears. I can see an outline here. Yeah, this sort of is. Okay, I will. I'm going to outline him, will be my first step. That then will help me choose my colour palette. It gets the little guy in position. I can then iron away all of the lines. And then from that outline, it's like colouring in. So we outline him first and then come back through and colour him in with lots of little stitches. And I'm going to do the same colour palette. So I'll be looking for greys in different shades. And that'll become his fur. And I'll start stitching him. Then I will start adding the lacy embellishments. So at this stage, it's all about getting your rabbit started with an outline and some stitching. Now, there'll be key areas of bunny that need to be stitched. There's no piece of lace on this planet that would give you the hint of a nose. You just have to stitch the nose. You might be able to do his little cheeks, but I ended up doing beads. Let's just get this little guy. While I do this, I need to talk it through a little in my own head. See how I did his cheeks were clusters of beads? These cheeks are awfully small, so the jury's out on that, whether that would work. His whiskers, I think will have to be stitched in. Maybe it's a case of there won't be much lace on him. I think I can get lace into his ears like I did here, and potentially lace drifting off of his ear like I did here. See how it came out from the shape of his ear? I'd say I'd be able to do a little bit of a crown. See, I've got a bit of a crown happening here. So we'd probably be able to have some lace sneak in there. Lace definitely on his chest. And maybe his rump and his tail, but the rest I think would need to be stitched unless the lace starts creeping up into here and I even lose a leg and he's just peeking out. See, there's no set that maybe that doesn't get stitched down there and we just have him peeking out of the garden. Gee, I like that idea. That way I would be able to keep Susanna's little flowers. If that lace came up through here, then back up, hang on, let's say the layers of lace came through here like that, up here, so it caught his ear a little bit, disappeared off because I think we need air up there, and then through here because we want to air through here, I think, to really see him. And everything else coming in is lace. Lace into here, lace into here, here and here. I can still stitch then the little tulipy flowers. Yeah. And I think maybe the lace sneaks. I love how it comes, see, it comes into his face. Maybe my lace sneaks in here and catches the side of his face. So we start to have him peeking through. Yeah, I like that. I like how I can keep the top of his legs here. So we'll stitch that in. His tail's gone, but that's all right. And if this lace is like really soft on this edge, it's not a hard line. It's like lines like that. Where does it zoom in? It's like lines like that. So it's really soft and then bulked out from there. Okay. Yep. All right. Just thinking. Alrighty. Let's get this invisible stitch done. The girl wants to get kicking along here. So the first thing, like I said, is just stitching in the outlines. So it's like a colouring in book. Let's get our lines. Any that get covered with the lace, that's fine. I'll probably do a split back stitch in a fairly fine stitch, so it'll be along the lines of the DMC 2 strands. I think I can always come back and bulk it up if it feels a little bit too fine. I can come back with pearl cotton and up the ante a little bit. This guy was pearl cotton all the way, but I think he's too small for it. Oh gosh, I feel like I'm going to have a coughing attack. Excuse me. I'm going to pause the video. I'm about to cough. Okay, I'm back. I finished coughing and choking and sneezing and coughing and more sneezing. Goodness me. Don't know what went wrong there. All right, so I finished the invisible stitch, and I thought what we might do now is have a look at the threads, and we want to follow the colour palette of this little fellow. So, oh, I can see one that I recall actually using there. That guy. He's in there. Where's the container? We need to build our little pile of threads. So I need a little container. People have often asked me, you know, what all these are. They're chocolate containers. So Ferrero Rochers are my weakness. And they're often in these containers, and they'll have a little, look, there's the brand still, the sticker's still there. They'll have then a little lid, and that lid is great just to slide on, and I put a hairband around it or something, and that's nice and safe to travel with me. Or I just use them to gather my bits that I need. So let me just zoom up a little bit, guys. So you can see my colour palette. Now, I want some dirty creams. Like, that's what I mean by a dirty cream. Those types of colours. We're going to need a dark grey. I think he's probably going to be too thick. That's not stranded cotton. But we'll leave him in there just in case he can handle it. Like, that's a good thin... I think that's good. That's a 416. Let's just have a little look at this guy. We're going to need some dark greys. That's very similar. We're going to need black to outline his little mush. Oh, look at that. That'd be cool. Sparkly thread. We'll just throw it in. So let's tone down the creams. That's a Wonderfill, so that's no good. A fresh cream, a soft cream. Chuck them in. Could do with some more lighter greys. That one there would replace that pearl cotton. Dark grey. What else do I need? Be great to use up some. I always pull them out and go, finally I'll use that last bit, but I never do. Like, it just goes and goes. That's a fresher, bluier grey, so I think we need that. We're going to need a little bit of white for his eye. Let's chuck one of those in. What else are we going to need for him? Maybe a bit of chocolate. See how I did chocolate pistol stitches there as if I was doing whiskers, but they're actual pistol stitches within a flower. That's fairly dark grey. There's a little bit of black without. Use that up, use that up. Don't need that. Okay. I think we've got enough. Like, I always pull too many threads, but I'm going to put him away. I'm staying in the stranded cottons because I think I need to control the width of my stitch. I might even get in a few of these dirty darker tones in case he goes more that way than grey. And that one. Okay. Enough. Too many. It's like picking lollies out of a lolly container. What about this one too? Hang on. Hold. There's another one. That one. Okay, now I've got threads everywhere that I'm having to wind back up. Alrighty. Now we won't need greens and things like that because I'm keeping it very, very neutral. Oh, this is fallen out of the bag. Oh, stop it. No. Get the bunny stitched first. And then as the bunny comes along with the stitching, I will then know where I'm going with lace. Does that make sense? So let's try 2 strands. I think 3 would be too much, but we'll give it a go at 2 and then decide. Now I want lace to sneak onto his cheek there. So just in case it's a fine lace, I'm not going to stitch that zone. We will start there. It's probably too thick of a needle. All right, so there's my little, I'll put bunny in there because that way it's all together. Okay, so where this lace is going to drift onto his cheek, I'm going to start by putting my needle in there. Now this is the line that is bigger than what the bunny is actually sketched at, but I'm okay with that at this moment. So I'm doing a back stitch, and then when I come up, let me just zoom in for the newbies. Welcome, welcome, all you new kids on the block. The rest of you, put your heads down and get stitching. Trim that off. Okay, so I've got my first stitch. I've shot forward with the needle and come up. And now I'm going to pierce that stitch. I'm not going to go halfway along. I'm just going to go to the edge of it and stitch in. Come forward. One of my favourite stitches is split back stitch because it hides the fact that you've made a hole with a needle. Does that make sense? Yeah, I like that. It's a 2-thread job. I knew it was going to be fine. Means it's going to take bloomin' ages. I haven't looked actually at the rest of the animals coming. And what I might do is, because it's fine, let's leave a gap here and there in my stitching. Like it's sketched. Keep it fine. We'll have a little break. Look at that. See, this thread is sitting up. Look at that. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I've lost a little guy tension-wise, so let's take my time. So yeah, I'm going to just break that line up a little bit. Now I've lost the thread on the needle. And from once the edge is done, I will then come back and start sketching in with thread his fur. So I'm tempted to leave a gap again, like so. So it's a little bit broken up. Jump up here. Instead of that classic colouring in book edge, just make it a bit softer. Come in hard around his tip of his ear there. It'll look better once it's all ironed out, but it gives you the general feel. I don't mind that his ears are bigger. Remember when I traced it, I'm a fraction bigger than Susanna's design, but I'm okay with that because his ears can be exaggerated. But when you get in around cheeks and chins and noses, sometimes that little bit extra exaggeration of space and sketch throws him out of whack and he looks too thick. Like his neckline to me has got a bit thick. That outside edge line is no good. The one I did slightly inside, much better, which would then taper his neck in like Susanna's. He got too chunky. But as for the ears, I'm okay with the slightly bigger ears. We're only talking a few mil, but can adjust the shape of something. Okay, so happy days. We've got our threads picked. We've got our thickness of our thread sorted. It's a 2-strand stitch. Let's get this ear. Remember the top up here is not going to have any lace because I want his ears to really pop. I mean the perimeter of this top edge. Okay, now let's just spin him around and decide where our line is. I think I want a bit of air, so I need to be scooching in a little bit with that stitch. Just follow that line there. It got messy in there, so I just need to be a little bit mindful of where his ears are going to lay. Yep, follow that line right down, so. Okay, run out of thread. Of course I have. And I guess the next decision too is how much thread painting I do. It doesn't have to be completely stitched in if we don't want to. If it gets too heavy, maybe that's not such a good idea. Maybe it needs to be more of a silhouette and I just feature, you know, little bits. I don't know. I do love stitching, so I know I won't be able to hold back. Let's rethread. What I might do is just reach to my side here and grab the rest of the calendar pieces and have a look at some of the other animals. Okay, ready to go. Let me grab my container. Okay, so we've done February. August is a little bird. Oops. Just bear with me, guys. Robins, Narcissus. So we've got September, November, April. So we're doing fruit next. June, We've done January. We've done December. There's the galah. This is where we want to be. May, October. All right. So the rest of my rice bag will feature a squirrel, the little deer. He's being replaced. They're all okay at this stage. Okay, yeah, like I thought we were one short. So the little deer will work a treat. He can peek in from the side, surrounded by lace. The little squirrel, he will work a treat. He's a really good size. But then the galah was the fourth animal, which I'm not a fan of. This doesn't fit the theme. So Susanna's got some other critters that she'll send my way July that I can substitute this guy with. So stay tuned. I know there's a raccoon, a hedgehog, there's all sorts. So that's the plan for the little rice bag if you are wanting to join in and make a critter inspired rice bag. Trying to split it. It's a bit hard to split two threads, let me tell you. There we go. Well, we've got to start. So my homework is just to get him outlined. That'll give me a moment to sit and think about the next stage, whether that's putting together a selection of lace that we can piece in. When I did Timothy here, Timothy is this fellow. Timothy is named after a rabbit that my husband had when he was a little fellow. He had a big white rabbit. It's a bit of a sad story because Timothy passed away. Well, of course he did because Gaz was a little boy, but what happened was they all went on a family holiday, and Timothy, along with his brother's rabbit and his mother's rabbit, they were living in Adelaide at the time. You're not allowed pet rabbits in Queensland. Yeah, the boys went on a holiday with the family and they found a boarding kennel for the rabbits. And when they got back, 2 rabbits were alive and Timothy wasn't. He got handed back to the family. Don't laugh, Corrine. Compose yourself. He got handed back to the family. Stop it. Wrapped in cling wrap and a plastic bag from out of the freezer. Don't laugh. It's not funny. Gaz cracks up laughing when he tells the story, but he said as a little boy he was devastated, which of course you were. It's very sad. Why are we laughing? That's not good. But he laughs when he tells the story, and I'm just beside myself because he puts on this little boy voice as Timothy went to the shelter to be cared for while he went on a holiday. I think they went to Papua New Guinea with his father's work, and the family tagged along. So they were gone a good couple of weeks, and they only had these 3 rabbits as pets. So yeah, Timothy didn't make it. And Gaz's theory, of course he's got a theory, is that he was such a good-looking rabbit that, and rabbits were sold as pets in Adelaide. They still are. So pet shops often have rabbits for sale in them because he was a big white rabbit. Gaz's theory is that Timothy was put to stud with many, many rabbits. And it was too much for him. And he died because of his workload. Oh my goodness. I'm losing it. Pull it together. And therefore he was handed back to the family. This young fella gets his rabbit back. Okay. So this is a tribute to Timothy, the white rabbit. See, I've got his name at the top there. When I did that, he loved it. He's like, oh, it's beautiful, it's beautiful. And then I stitched this on at the very end, and he goes, that's not Timothy. Timothy was a white rabbit. Yeah, anyway, I'm like, it's a nod to Timothy. It's not Timothy. It's just a nod to Timothy. It's a cousin of, it's the offspring of Timothy. Oh my goodness. It's like the funniest story, but it's not funny at the time. But when Gaz recants the story, he starts it off with this sad little boy routine, and then he gets to the very end and he flips into this conspiracy theory of what happened to Timothy, and everyone just ends up in stitches. That's why I'm laughing. It's not because I'm a very sick individual and there's a dead rabbit. It's the way Gaz tells the story as an adult, reflecting on this little boy. I think he's detached himself from the situation. Oh my goodness. All right, guys. I might say goodbye because we must be getting close to the hour. I think I had shot about 30 odd minutes before I had my sneezing attack, coughing, choking attack. So, yeah, I'm going to chuff off. Compose myself. If I giggle too much more, I'm going to start coughing again. And I've got my homework. Is this Timothy? No, it's the son of Timothy. All right, that's it. Stop. All right, guys. I'm going to say goodbye. Look after yourselves. Have a lovely day. And I'm going to go and stitch this rabbit. Bye.